Hey, how you all going tonight, wherever the bloody hell you are in the world? I am chatting with Jessica Kagan of Planepacked, who is also author, songwriter. You've done the programming, you sung vocals. I think it's like the, I know you've done vocals on the War Song single, I think was the first time you done vocals. But this album, the Transactinides, I think I got it right. You've expanded on that and got a lot more vocals in this one as well. Thank you very much for joining me for a chat about it all.
I'm glad to be here.
First off, mate, can you tell me a little bit about where this project originally come from? Tell me a little bit about the beginnings of Planepacked.
So the story I've been telling everyone, and I mean, this is what I believe, is that basically like the first kind of like things that are, I guess, sort of like recognizably Planepacked would have been like music I was working on around late 2013, early 2014. I started experimenting with this program called OpenMPT. I don't know if you're familiar with it or really tracker music in general. But yeah, that's basically, I started working like doing stuff with that, and that basically put me in like a good position to, well, A, because tracker music's pretty flexible, but B, because OpenMPT actually supports like a lot of like plugins. You can use basically VSTs of your choice with it. That put me in kind of like a good position to kind of mix some of the more like pure electronic stuff I was doing at the time with metal stuff. I found some like samples I liked and amp simulators, that sort of thing. And that's kind of like where I started producing these quote unquote metaltronica that like kind of like defines Planepacked, at least from a marketing perspective. So yeah, it's really just been kind of a process of like getting better at composing and arranging and mixing. So I mean, I'm not doing like the final mix master on like these albums. It's just I have to know some stuff in order to have like usable demos.
Yeah, plain tracks. You probably describe the sound best exactly as metaltronica. Loads of synths, loads of keyboards. It did start out as an instrumental project. Tell me a little bit about that, starting as an instrumental project and moving into the vocals. When were you like, was this something you always wanted to do? Or is this something that comes around? Yeah.
Basically, I mean, it kind of ties into the whole gender thing. I don't know how much that's been placed into like the PR resources you've gotten, but I didn't really have like confidence in my voice, like, well, my physical voice, like back in the day. It was what it was. Like I couldn't put a finger on what bothered me about it back in the day. I only really began to understand that kind of when I was like as part of like the whole transition process. And I just like before I start, like at one point I started basically getting like voice therapy to like learn how to like speak in a more stereotypically femme voice. I mean, I don't use that I don't really lean into that, but I mean, like my voice is fundamentally different than it used to be, just because like I've been deliberately taking advantage of it, well, to some extent. And then that was basically like really good for just overall like that part of me. And then like eventually I decided that I did want to try my hand at taking singing lessons. I should note that I got forced into choirs when I was in high school. We had like freshman choir, sophomore choir, and that's where the coercion stopped. I could hit notes. I didn't like how my voice sounded. It took me a while to build up confidence in the singing lessons, but I was at least approaching it from this just position of like confidence in like in my voice. So I kind of like went from that point to like kind of like on the Planepacked side of things. I was in things like having like a vague interest in maybe finding like a session vocalist someday to having the confidence to, perform my own cleans. I haven't ever tried my hand at harsh vocals. I would like to experiment with those someday, or really like probably more like take lessons. But in the meantime, like being able to put out good cleans is, good for that as well.
Yeah, while you're talking about it, you do have the harsh vocals on this one, and it is quite an addition to the storytelling per se of the albums as well. It comes in with your cleans, and then we've got the heavies. Tell us a little bit about the person you've got in there doing the harsh vocals for you.
Well, she's a session vocalist I hired for this. I think she wants to keep her like anonymity to an extent, but I'm very impressed with like the work she did. She what is it?
Moscow.
Basically like has like a lot of like dynamic range in her vocals, which I really appreciate. And then obviously it's very just kind of like, how would I put it? It's got that like really abrasive, harsh vocals. I don't really know like a lot of the specifics of the technique, but she's but yeah.
It would have been fun for you as a songwriter to be able to experiment though with the cleans and the heavies, and to really go all out with this album as well, and just to have a little bit more fun with the vocals and the arrangement of the lyrics and such.
Yeah, I mean, she has like more formal music education than I do. I took like 10 years of classical piano, so I usually describe myself as having a quote unquote high school musical education. Everything else I've learned is just kind of like on my own. And I probably should get back into some of the keyboard stuff. I mean, I haven't lost it all, but I definitely would need to practice a bunch if I was to like really just kind of like bring back that kind of like performance aspect of things.
Do you think the music has helped, like you were mentioning before, like with the whole going through that transition and the process? Do you think music has helped with you trying to deal with a lot of the things going on as well moving forward, like having that escape to go into music where it's the music that it is, you know what I mean?
I feel like to some extent, I don't know how much I've really thought about it, but I mean, it's been a passion of mine basically since I was a kid. I not really sure like what I can say beyond that, but like having just like an outlet for everything is, it's very good for your mental health. That's for sure.
It is, especially heavy metal music, and the community is such a great community to be a part of, the heavy metal community. Can we talk a little bit about your songwriting process for this? Tell me a little bit about, because this is something you did say you had been working on for quite a while. Tell me a little bit about this process for you.
One thing I should mention is that if I hadn't like made the decision to kind of like develop my singing, kind of like cultivate that singing voice, it probably would have been out sooner, but perhaps as like an instrumental album. COVID also did that, but yeah. As for the actual like songwriting process, everything I have like basically like a hypothesis, like just in general, which is to say that like the kind of music you create is going to depend like a lot on your tools. Like hypothetically, like if you're like a solo pianist and you decide to like write a bunch of like solo piano music, like the kind of like way that you approach things would be fundamentally different than if, let's say, you were a guitarist. If you're kind of like working directly with like and then kind of all right, kind of like getting back on track, like using like tracker software sequencers to like build your stuff is like going to give you like a different approach to than, let's say, if you were playing all the instruments like either live or kind of like building up your songs by just like recording your parts one at a time. But yeah, I think the fact that I have like so much of my like composing experience just tied to like notation, sequencing. I even had like a little chiptune phase for a few years before Planepacked. Really, that really just kind of like makes me, I guess, like I describe it as like thinking in terms of like just kind of like loops and just kind of like that kind of like way of building up songs. Though, I mean, try not to like use like the same loop too many times in a song. You gotta keep, if you're like me, you gotta really like keep introducing new ideas and just finding ways to like link everything together.
So you're an author as well. So is it, how important is it to you as being an author to create this world where you can kind of extend on the storytelling, not only with being an author as well, but with the music?
There hasn't been like a ton of like overlap between the two, though. Transactinides does have like the songs towards the beginnings that are, inspired by the world of Endian Project, which is, the whole like urban fantasy sci-fi thing I have going. And then Behind the Bitmask is like the name of the first full-length novel. It's kind of fallen by the wayside because I've been like really focused on the music. I have like a book 1.5, if you will, that's been drafted, really needs beta readers, but for me to get beta readers comes down to me just needing to, reach out to people and, well, get that done. And then I'd have to like figure out like just kind of like basically edit the draft into like a more like polished format. I don't know what the timing on that's going to be.
Yep. Can we tell me a little bit about that first single off the album, which people can head over. I know you've already got it over there on Bandcamp. People can pre-order the digital album as well. And I'm pretty sure you got a whole ton of other stuff coming too. Can you tell me a little bit about that first single, Azure, Her Clarion Call?
Well, that one is specifically like inspired by like a kind of like a the romantic relationship of two characters in the book. I mean, Azure is one of them, and then the other one is the main protagonist, whose name is Charlotte. So yeah, it's basically a love song, and I mean, I chose to like, well, I discussed with my PR people, and we basically figured like best to release that like as close to Valentine's Day as we can, given marketing strategy. So that's the kind of that's basically what it comes down. That part's kind of like how it comes down to I guess like compositionally, like trying to think. Everything on Transactinides, like the instrumental kind of like part of the songs came first by like significant margins, and then I basically as I like developed my singing and such, I decided to words. I decided to write those vocal parts. Now with War Song, even though that came out earlier, that was like composed later, and I was like more in the thick of just sort of like developing that side of me. So I was able to have less of a delay there, and then I was able to actually like work on that a specific song and develop like my approach to singing it as part of my singing lessons. But yeah, I'm kind of like rambling.
Favorite song off the album there, Jessica? Have you got a favorite song off the album and why? And I know it changes every week for every artist. It's like picking a favorite child. I know it really is, but I do like to ask this one.
That's fair. I do think it's going to be Heliotaxis because, well, it is very much the most ambitious thing I've ever Songwriting. It's 9 minutes. It's like 9 minutes long. It's got like all these sections. It's got my most vocal range on the album, G3 to G5. I mean, stuff below there I can physically sing, but dysphoria. Yeah. Again, it's really just kind of like sort of like the climax of the album.
Yeah.
So you get some I mean, there's like one track after that, and that one's more just like
The ascendancies
fun
after
time
that.
signature prog metal stuff.
Yeah, it must have been fun going in with that really long song as well. Like, I love the long tracks, and it would have been fun for you as a musician to create this story per se through this track as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any best place before we sign out? Best place people to head along? I will chuck in any links we miss, but where's the best place people can head along and throw down some support for you and your projects?
Definitely Bandcamp. They have like the most favorable like revenue sort of like setup. I mean, I've said this before, but buying like an actual like copy, it's currently only digital, but I really need to like work on getting the physical side of things going. But buying like a copy of the album on Bandcamp is like equivalent to like hundreds, if not thousands of streams, depending on where you're going from. So that's, I mean,
that's the best. Even I'm doing it. I buy heaps of albums through Bandcamp. I'm always plugging Bandcamp, and I know one day the CEO of Spotify is probably going to run me over, or one of his henchmen. But I totally agree. Like, I've done it before, jumped over and streamed an album, but I've always buying albums. If I like something, I will buy it. Like, and I even feel bad when I do it. I'm more or less just use that bloody Spotify for podcasts now. I love buying music and albums, and even the big bands are having this problem. You know what I mean? They've like these huge bands. You know what I mean? They're relying on playing live and selling merch to actually pay for recording time, maybe buy a guitar, pay some rent, you know what I mean? And musicians,
it's a hard life.
It is a hard life, and we work so hard doing what we love, and we're going to do it anyway, but it'd be great to have that support of the community behind us as
really
well.
Would.
And not forgetting that Spotify are just the leeches on the music at the moment, sucking off the musicians. So
there are a lot of people who are just raking in the profits, while the actual musicians are just scrabbling to make a living. Or in my case, like, I have to work a 9-to-5 job. So like, and it's a good 9-to-5 job. It pays well. The hours are good. It gives me some chance to like do like flex my brain and do like little logic problems. I mean, I'm a web developer. But
but like you, I would love to sit around full time talking about music, covering music, and being immersed in the world of music. And I'm sure you would be full time, love creating, writing, storytelling, doing all that side of things if you could.
It's probably only going to happen if I like somehow manage to like really strike it big. But I mean, by doing these interviews and getting my getting my stuff out to a wider audience, maybe.
Yeah, just working hard, Jessica. This has been an absolute pleasure. Everyone get behind Planepacked. You can head over to Bandcamp, grab the album Transactinides, pre-order it. It comes out 8th of April. It really is a great listen. Do you have any last words, shout outs, or thank yous you'd like to add in there, my friend?
I can't really think of anything else. Seem to have covered all the bases. Pun possibly intended.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. Everyone get behind it. Crank it really loud for the neighbors. They are going to want to hear this. Jessica, you have a lovely evening, and thank you for joining me for a chat about it all. Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to talk to you and anyone else I interviewed. There have been some people about this stuff, and I'm glad to hear you enjoy it. Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.